right. All right, well, good evening, gentlemen. Welcome to the Roadkill podcast. My name's Laurel. I'm going to be one of your hosts tonight. We also have Mark Roadkill over there on the other end hosting tonight. For those of you tuning in, we have a couple of very special guests with you. Mr. Damon Fowler here with us tonight. Welcome, Damon.
Hey, thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
All right, and then we have Mr. Dan Signor. Am I saying that right? Signor?
Yeah, it's all right. Anything.
Signor,
Signor, it's okay.
Signor. I didn't even think about that one.
Yeah.
It doesn't have the hash on the top.
It doesn't matter.
Signor. I like it though.
I'm impartial. It's cool.
That's fair. All right,
Call me what you want.
Welcome to the show, guys. So I think the best place to start, really, first off, you've got a show coming up here soon. We're getting ready to go to at Music Ranch.
We do, yes we do.
And you're from the area, right?
I grew up in Tampa, went to Brandon High School, played in Lakeland, from the time I was about 17, 18.
You've been playing music a while.
Yeah.
Well, that's not like I was calling you old, but...
No, hey, I prefer vintage. I prefer vintage. I'm 45. So I've been playing around Florida, especially Central Florida, since I was about, I would say 14.
Okay.
Yeah.
So a lot of years experience. That's super awesome. Well, glad to have you. I'm excited to see you perform at the Music Ranch. I've been seeing a lot of music everywhere.
I'm glad you guys are coming, man. The Music Ranch, if you've never been, it's a really great spot.
I haven't been yet.
It's a really killer spot.
He has not been, so I can't wait.
Yeah.
I'm talking with Phil now about getting a table there. So
rock and roll.
That's going to be a lot of fun coming up too.
Always love the Music Ranch and love Phil.
I've heard lots of good things about Phil. I'm looking forward to meeting him.
And Soul to Earth is opening that night.
They're a fantastic band. And, I've probably seen those guys playing for the last probably 15, 20 years around here with Ben Kreider playing B3, Jimmy on the guitar. It's a fantastic band.
First time I saw you play at the Music Ranch, they opened for that show.
We've done it many times, I believe.
It's great.
Yeah.
And then you guys have worked together on an album, right?
We have. Yeah. We have that. We have a couple different ones, but the Live at the Palladium album was Damon's deal, and that was a great fun time with Fowler and friends. Some good players on there too.
And you did Alifia Moon as well too. A couple of tracks
on Alifia
and
Moon.
Barnyard. So Dan's played keys on a bunch of my stuff.
Yeah.
And the record he's talking about is Live at the Palladium. We recorded and videoed this show, the Palladium Theater in St. Pete, and it turned out really good. So we released it, and it was really,
Well, bringing up either of your names, that's one of the albums that everybody keeps coming up like, oh, you gotta go listen to this. You gotta listen to this and check this out. This is what these guys are all about. And then your music video was what you sent me, and I've been watching that nonstop. That's a cool.
Great.
That's a cool. I as you can tell, I'm into film.
I think maybe you're responsible then for a quarter of the plays I've got. I think it's up to like 1,200. So let's just keep listening, dude.
Yeah, that's the ticket, right?
And I was actually lucky enough to have Damon come and record on my new album that just came out yesterday, called Time, Love, and Money. He's on 3 of those tracks.
Okay.
And they're 3 of my favorites somehow,
That's somehow. There's no bias there at all. But so when did you guys meet? How did you guys get in touch and start jamming together?
Do you want to tell it?
You know what? You go ahead. I'll chime in.
Oh, this sounds loaded. This sounds fucking loaded.
Well, I mean, whichever.
It's a dark and stormy night, Polk County, Florida.
Pants were around my ankles.
Grady Judd was a young man.
I'll start. You come in.
Good.
So I just moved here I just moved to Lakeland back in 2004.
Okay.
And my brother-in-law had said, I need to go get some smokes. Let's go out. Let's go to the store. And I'm in my pajamas and slippers. And we walk into the store, get my smokes, get in the car. He's not going back towards the house. He says, there's this jam at Lillian's and you got to check out this guy. And I'm like, well, you could have told me. I could have at least, been in something other than pajamas and slippers to go out to a club first week here in Florida.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Don't worry, you fit right in.
I walk in.
Total stereotype.
I walk in, it's open. I didn't want to go there, but you did, so that's cool. But I walk in, felt at home in my slippers and pajamas right away. No, it was an open mic, and I'm like wrestling myself to sign up, and I'm listening to the talent there, and I was like, oh my God, I don't know if I really want to get up here and try this right now. So somebody had encouraged me. I signed up, blah, blah, blah. And I got to play with Damon, of all people, as my first outing in Lakeland in my pajamas, and it was a great time.
That
and then your
great.
take is like, who's this guy in his freaking
pajamas? So from the stage, I'm like, who's the new guy in the pajamas?
Who brought the homeless person here?
Now, our friend Ed Lanier, it was his jam. And Edmo, man, he hosted a blues jam in Lakeland, Florida for a really long time. He was a musician around here. Lives up in the Panhandle now, but shout out to Ed Lanier, man. He's an awesome dude, man. So, and each week he would have a different guest guitar player. So sometimes I would do it. And just so happens that week I was doing it. Dan comes in. They're like, there's this new guy. And, he plays keys. So we're like, cool, let's get him up to jam, And so when he got up and played, he played a couple of tunes. I remember he played this Lattimore song. And we were all like, wow, man, holy moly, this guy sounds so great, So that was basically my intro. And since then, we've stayed in contact and played gigs together and all that stuff, and been friends for years.
Man, you guys have been going on and up, because you don't even live around here anymore. You're up in Carolina now?
Yeah, I live up in Asheville now. Yeah.
Okay. Oh,
yeah.
Nice town.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It is. In the process of rebuilding, and it's a great area to be. Beautiful backdrop. There's a very lively music scene too. But I'm still trying to dip my toes in. I feel like when I finally did, then the flood. Yeah.
It's
going to kind of be like trying to rebuild. Reestablish those contacts and get my feet back in the water there.
Yeah, Asheville's a fun town. I remember I went up years ago. I was living in North Georgia, and we went up when the fires came through. This was 10 plus years ago, when those fires came through and swept through the Blue Ridge Mountains real bad. I remember firefighters flying from all over the country for that, and then I heard about the flooding too. Like, you guys just don't get a break.
No, I mean, I've only been there 2 years, but I mean, it's that flooding isn't anything that's normal to. I mean, I think it's been like 100-something years since they were flooded like that.
It was saying record highs. I've been seeing all kinds of videos.
But it's great seeing people come together and help each other out too.
That's exactly what I was going to ask. Is like, how's the town been coming together? You guys, doing okay?
To watch. I mean, it's the only thing that is bringing about some normalcy is the people and community coming together to help everybody out,
Yeah.
And it's getting there. There's some places that'll just never be there. They're just totally swept away.
Yeah.
And the whole landscape has changed now. But slowly but surely, it's coming back.
It's not
It's
about
more the outskirts too that are affected more so
Yeah.
than downtown. I mean, downtown business-wise, it was tough because of the water and all that stuff.
Yeah.
We're not going to talk about politics.
We're not getting into any of that.
Yeah.
But I was just saying, one of the nice things about community coming back together is one of the things that really resonates with them is music. Have you found that that's been a big center part of that rebuild?
Yes, and I haven't been as present as I'd like to be, but I do see things that are going on and people doing benefits, and I've done a couple while I'm there. They're putting benefits on for different places, and a lot of venues. Shout out to Silverados and Black Mountain. Like, they use their whole stage, which is very, very large. Like, it's a nice, huge stage, and they have a lot of property, and they put all the supplies up on the stage. You can come and drop or pick up whatever you need.
Yeah.
And I mean, everything, like from baby diapers to your meal for that night. Like, it's all there. And to see people doing that, man, it's a really, really great thing. You just want to be part of it.
Yeah.
So whenever I'm home, I do swing by there and check out what's going on.
Yeah.
So,
that's really cool to hear, man.
Yeah, them and some other breweries around are, doing a lot of good stuff. There's another great agency called Beloved Asheville that's doing a lot.
I've heard that name before.
For everybody. They do everything from facilitating like excavation of property to making sure people have propane, and stuff like that. So
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's great to see those things happening, and as a new member of the community, to see that people are coming together like that. It's pretty neat.
But and then speaking of community, because you moved away from are you still in Tampa area? Or?
I live in Plant City now.
Plant City, gotcha. Okay, so you're transplanted here, but then you're coming to visit home, and we're doing a listening room tomorrow,
yes,
which will be a lot of fun. Have we gotten much of a chance to explain what that is? I know that Mike's the one that set you up with that.
I don't think we did. I've utilized.
We're just hanging out here.
I've utilized the the Facebook stuff and Instagram stuff to try to explain what's going on with that. But it'll be a nice quiet night listening room where I can play and not have to try to scream over people, and really share my original stuff in a light that I would like to do that.
I was going to crack a joke and say, I'm glad I was here to explain it to you. Everybody in the audience has water balloons. I'm just kidding. Kazoos, right?
Yeah,
no, but you're exactly right. The listening room's whole purpose is to give you that intimate night of music where it's you in the audience. You're not having a hustle and bustle of a bar, restaurant, or even outdoors to contend with. And it's a chance for you to tell your story. So we're looking forward to it tomorrow, man. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Me too. And I've been trying to, conjure the stories in my, what is this song about? And remind myself of how to explain the origin of it and all that. So I'm kind of looking forward to it too.
Yeah.
It's a first for me. I've never really done anything
So
like that.
One thing I do want to tell you is that you don't necessarily have to tell the origin of the story, but you can also tell the story of what the song means to you.
Yeah.
And things like that. Just take us on a journey. We're looking forward to it, man.
Yeah, me too.
I have a question. Is this online, or is this an event in person?
It's in Winter Haven. It's hosted by the Laugh Out Lounge Comedy Club. They wanted to break into the music scene after a trip that the owner took to Mike. Shout out to Mike Lee. Took a trip to New Orleans and fell in love with getting those. When it gets dark out in New Orleans, a lot of the musicians go into restaurants, and one of my favorites was this house that they had turned into sort of a restaurant, kind of like what we're doing tonight. Right. But in the yard was just littered with chairs and tables and lights, and in the very center of the yard was a tiny little stage, and the downtown Bourbon Street musicians would book to play there, and the whole yard would just sit there silent, snacking and listening to these artists play their songs without the craziness of Bourbon Street. And Mike and I were like, well, let's recreate that here, and we created the listening room. We did the first one back in September with Blake Free, who's a local young man coming up, got a lot of really good talent, and we were very blessed not only by his talent, but by a little bit of luck and a little bit of experience, being able to not only get a really good show, but also be able to record high quality. I don't know if you guys have had the chance to listen to the live album yet.
We did. It sounded great.
Thank you. It was a little bit of luck and a lot of talent went into it. It was awesome. Blake absolutely knocked it out of the park. But we also got a full hour and 20-minute film out of it, and that's going to be coming out this winter.
Nice.
We're still putting that together, but So we're trying to do this at least monthly, and sometimes even more than once a month, and then maybe during the slower, hotter seasons, maybe once every other month. We'll see how the schedule pans out, but we need to get you in one for sure.
Is it inside?
It's indoors.
See, the hotter seasons, inside gigs are the best.
Yes.
Right?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So, but as Florida boys, even though you said you moved here and were only here for years before you went to Asheville, I'm still going to call you a Florida boy.
Yeah, no, I was here 20 years. That's fair.
He's got the pajamas.
Yeah,
that's fair.
Well, I heard
been here the majority.
I heard something that you can't be a Floridian until you've lived through 3 hurricanes.
Yeah, no, I got that.
Oh, yeah.
All that's under.
I did that one year,
man.
Right, all happened in 1 year. Yeah. 1 month. One time I heard. But anyway, so my point is that as Floridians, you guys know that the busy season, especially in the performing and music area, is September, October till March or April.
Well, they say it's a lot of people say it's October 31st, it's Halloween, till April 15th, tax day.
Yeah.
And when I was living on Bradenton Beach for a couple of years, and on April 15th, it did clear out. Like, it was something you're like, wow, man.
Where'd everybody go?
Yeah, wow, man, everybody left. So yeah, it's something like that.
Yeah, I also heard you can tell it's going to be the slow season because you start hearing less New York and you start hearing more like, hey, come on down, we're going to go fishing, have a good time.
Right.
And that's how you know it's a slow season.
Yeah.
I think it's a fair assessment.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
I hope I did those accents all right.
They were great. They were excellent.
But, so I don't know. Well, I guess we'll be navigating that as it goes around. And my ambition is to eventually start a small local record label that's open-ended. You can come sign on with me. We produce you, put together albums. We do music videos. We do shows, all kinds of stuff. But if at any point another bigger label wants to sign you, take you to Europe or to Tennessee or wherever it is you want to go, there's always a way out with us. So that's what I'm hoping to do in the future. But we'll have to explore that.
We have this on record now, him saying that about a record label.
I can edit this out.
I know. It's like he hadn't even told me if he's going to name it Roadkill Records or what yet.
I don't know. Roco Records. We'll have an off-site recording location up in Nashville called Signor Studios.
Okay. All right.
So vocals and piano recorded there.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. Let's go.
So speaking of which, I've seen a lot of videos of you playing, and the first several videos I saw, just probably luck of the draw, I saw you playing the guitar and singing, and there was the piano sitting in front of you, and I was like, oh, okay, does he use it for like backtrack ambience? He hits one chord and then just kind of plays around that chord, and then you fucking played, and I was just like, oh shit, fingers. I was like, I wonder if this is how ladies feel sometimes.
It's what you go for, and that's what you're aiming for. I don't know how people feel about it, but I enjoy the hell out of it. And I don't like to use keyboards to like lay tracks or anything, but I will play the guitar, loop it, and then play the keyboard.
Well, that was once I got it, like dug into your music and saw you actually play, I quickly realized, oh no, he's no cheap shot musician. Not that anybody who does that is a cheap shot, but he does. You do everything full tilt, which I appreciate. As do you, Damon. I've seen some of your stuff.
I am a terrible piano player.
I'm a terrible guitar player. That's fair.
I could argue for the guitar thing. I would say no. You're fantastic. You sound great, but don't knock yourself.
Rhythm-wise, but I would love to learn those sweet licks, and Damon, maybe he'll give me some FaceTime lessons or some.
Probably not.
No,
Probably not.
No. I'm just gonna watch.
Just
closer.
show up with your pajamas and
show up
open
with-
mic, and you're good.
Here to learn, Damon.
Yes, you keep tickling the keys over there, and I'll do some of this.
Okay. Yeah, I still want to learn some of that.
Yeah, me too.
You and me both. I'm a self-taught musician. Everything I play is all self-taught. I play by ear. Can't read music to save my life, and I've always wanted to learn the sweeps and stuff. But because I've ingrained myself in my own methods for so long, it's so hard. It's the phrase "can't teach an old dog new tricks." It's hard for me to get onto the music theory that comes with having to learn some of that, and not that it has to, but it's hard for me to break out of my rhythms into doing it. And I'd much rather have the cameras and film you guys doing the cool stuff than I got 2 kids. It's hard to find the time, anyways. Right. But how long have you guys been playing? Like, not necessarily together, but just in general. You're saying since what, 15? Right?
I started playing when I was 10.
10, that's right. Yeah. So it's been a long time. But how about you,
Yeah,
bro?
I was probably about 8 or 9, maybe a little bit older when I took it seriously, but it was always in the family. There was always instruments around. My mom will tell you I was like 2, but I don't think,
That's fair.
So I'm the only one that started at 47.
Well,
yeah, but you're not doing too bad at 47. I mean, you've been getting lots of compliments. You downplay yourself on your drums and your cooking.
I did play a blues open jam up in. I did a Sweetwater trip, spent a buttload of money.
Yeah.
But the owner of Sweetwater actually has a little bar, restaurant, theater thing, and I went there for an open mic on Monday. They were open, which I thought was great. And it's G Money was the guy's name that did it.
All right. Played up in Atlanta somewhere?
Yeah, no, this was up in where that in Indiana.
Oh, okay.
Fort Wayne. Way up there.
Oh, okay.
So, and it was pretty good. It was like, but then
there's some videos of you playing. It looked good,
yeah,
man.
I got videos of it, and so you can hear them and me sounding like shit on drums.
Got up and ripped some sweet
But the
licks.
bass player, I wish I can't remember anything when I drink or smoke or. So I don't remember any, so I can't remember any fucking thing.
All right. You want to know what your problem was? You weren't wearing any pajamas.
No, well they still let me on stage.
Yeah.
But the bass player had played in the late '80s and '90s with all these MTV bands. I'm like, damn, I know all those.
Yeah, heck yeah.
I got
That
those
is
CDs that I can't play because I don't have a CD player.
So I guess a good question, kind of segueing off that, is who would be like your dream person to either play with or open for or have open for you even? You can't say each other.
First.
Man, I haven't really thought about that in a long time. I guess the answer to that used to be like Pink Floyd. Like I would love to be on a stage with like David Gilmour or like, you know, Pink Floyd was kind of my thing. And then before that, I guess it was the Beatles. But like, I don't know. It's just a very generic answer. But
no, and that's totally fine.
That's kind of how, I mean, like I really loved Pink Floyd and still do.
Favorite album? Favorite album?
Animals. Yeah.
Favorite song?
Favorite song
off that album?
Off that album, I like Dogs a lot, but favorite, I like Coming Back to Life, which is just a weird album. Like the Division Bell was just kind of an off album for them, but I love Coming Back to Life. Just very tasteful. The guitar licks in that song are just very, like they sing, you know. A lot of his licks do, but they really just sing. Anyway, if I could play guitar like anybody, it would probably kind of be like that.
There you go.
You know? I think his phrasing is just the way he speaks.
My question's an overboiled version of like who's your music idols or icons or people that you inspired. It's kind of an overboiled version of that question.
Yeah. For me, it's definitely him as far as like, you know, melodically.
Dude, his new record, Gilmour's new record, is fantastic.
Somebody was just talking to me about that last night. I didn't even know he had a new one.
And dude, he's got these interviews out with Rick Beato, and he's done a few, and man, they're some of the best.
Okay.
David Gilmour's new stuff is incredible.
Okay.
Everyone, check it out.
Yeah. Really I didn't know there was a new one out either, so I'll have to check that out.
Yep. His daughter sings on it. She sings great.
Oh, cool.
Awesome. Yeah. Really good.
All right, how about you?
Well, I would need a time machine. Okay, and if we're using this, so I'm going to say I would take a time machine, and I would want to go, and there's two guys, all right, one, and I would want to open and just kind of play quiet pedal steel guitar or something for the opener, and it would be George Jones sometime in the He Stopped Loving Her Today era.
Okay.
And then one would be B.B. King, and I would like to have a three-piece band and open for B.B. King, you know, sometime in like maybe the mid-'70s.
There you go.
Late 70s, something like that.
Your answer was so much better than mine.
I know time to think about it.
That's why you said you go first.
I was just going to say, I looked over in your face, it's just like, shit, that was a good answer.
Oh, man, I really thought about that in a while. And then you had time to think about it.
Yeah, exactly.
That was really well played, Damon.
Maybe did the time travel gig. You know.
It was really well played.
Or Dire Straits, man. Dire Straits.
Oh, I love Dire Straits. Dire Straits is good. How about you, Mark? Who would you want to play with?
Mellencamp.
Mellencamp? Well, we talked about this before.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the table's getting a little higher up over on that end of the...
That was the last one. No,
dude, I saw Mellencamp one time. We were on tour, and we were playing this club called the Jewish Mother. It's in Virginia Beach.
I know the Jewish Mother very well.
And so we're loading our gear in, and it was like a Wednesday or something. We're playing, and they had all you can eat spaghetti. And so we're like, oh, spaghetti, ha ha ha, right? So we're loading all our stuff in, and then when I come back out to the van, the drummer that was playing with us is like, dude, I just saw John Cougar Mellencamp walk out of the Jewish Mother. He was eating spaghetti with his kid. And I was like,
no fucking
and I was
way.
like, yeah,
dude, when I was in high school, my band played at Jewish Mother. Like, there's no fucking way.
He was eating spaghetti there. So 5 minutes later, drummer again, he's like, dude, he just came out of that Circle K over there, bought a pack of cigarettes, lit a cigarette, and walked across the street. And I'm like, I don't know, man. It's been a long trip, dude. We're at spaghetti dinner, cigarette, what? I don't know, buddy.
I did not know that.
And so when it's showtime, we get there, and there's a guy that's like, hey, man. Sound guy comes up, and he goes, hey, this guy is going to do a 30-minute opener for you guys because he's on tour with John Cougar Mellencamp, and they have the night off. And the drummer was like, see? You know? And I was like, yeah, man, cool.
Dude, that's crazy. That's so wild to me. I want to make sure I'm remembering this place correctly. It's called the Jewish Mother. It's in Virginia Beach, and it's like right next to like a strip club, right? It's got like sharing.
I mean, I wouldn't know about. I didn't pay any attention to what.
My wife watches these too. I'm just trying to make sure I got the location right. Inside, it's kind of dark. It's got a stage tucked in toward the back a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Holy shit!
Yeah,
I just thought it was
Virginia
some. Yeah, I just thought it was some like shady little dive.
No, like in the early '90s, man, all the bands would play there. Hootie and all that.
Yeah.
Circuit of band.
Well, I remember seeing like the photos on the wall, and one of the people was telling me that, but it was just kind of like, no, okay, everybody says that about their venue, right? At a certain point, you got to take it with a grain of salt.
It was. I'm not sure if they're still rolling. I haven't been up to Virginia Beach. We played their fest, but I haven't been out on the clubs, so I'm not sure.
I haven't been through Virginia Beach since like 2009.
It was a fantastic club, though. It was a really fun place.
It was really a cool spot. It's one of the few shows I remember. I remember that one, and I remember one. I don't even remember the name of the club, but I remember I was in a metal band in high school, and I remember we opened up for Mushroom Head, and that was like the height of like
hell yeah
my metal career. That was a wild show.
Yeah,
but. I don't know. I think the people that if I could play or open for, one of them would require a time machine, and the reason is because I had the opportunity to see this artist perform in Richmond, Virginia, and I don't remember what the reason was. There was some reason, maybe I wasn't old enough or whatever. I just wasn't able to go, and then he died. It was Johnny Cash.
Yeah.
And it was one of the last times that he played. It was one of his last tours before he finally died, and it was just like, man, I had an opportunity to go see him, and I didn't try hard enough to go do that. I would love to go back and do that one again. And then I guess I'd need a time machine for this one too. My inspiration for learning guitar at all was, like most people, Eddie Van Halen. Yeah. And now he's passed away.
Yeah.
There's a great audio book that Alex put out called Brothers. Mm-hmm. Alex Van Halen. Mm-hmm. Really cool perspective, from the inside out of their whole journey from moving to the States and all that.
I heard about that
really,
book.
really good.
I'm
not a Van Halen fan, but such like I kind of wanted to listen to some after I heard that. It's really, really neat.
Well, because the band was steeped in a lot of, I don't want to call it controversy, but drama, because they were changing singers all the time. Mm-hmm. There was all this bickering within the band that the e-news media and all that stuff put out all the time. But I've heard about that book because it really digs into Alex's perspective, mm-hmm. and a lot of people took it as this is what really happened. He's like, I'm just telling you my side of the story, and he had to clear the air on that. But I've heard it's really good. I just need to check it out.
Pretty tasteful, and the audiobook, he's reading it, so it's like you're really listening to him talk about it. So it's pretty cool. Anyway.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, cool. I don't even know where to go from here now.
I have one thing to say about Van Halen. I like Van
Bring it
Halen.
up.
Okay, yeah.
I like Van Halen.
I had a bunch of stuff to say.
And I had an opportunity to play a gig with Sammy Hagar. Mm. Sammy Hagar had Jason Bonham playing drums, and he had Michael Anthony playing bass. And I was like, well, that's really cool. But I'd never really given Michael Anthony. I was just like, yeah, he's the bass player in Van Halen. Yeah. He's the plays, dunk, 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 All right, cool. And, man, when those guys hit the stage and he started singing harmonies, I realized that he is a huge part of the sound of Van Halen. Mm. More so than I ever recognized, man. Michael Anthony is the Don Rich of rock and roll. Man, he's really fantastic.
I agree with that. I grew up watching repeatedly the DVD of Van Halen playing with Sammy Hagar in New Haven, New Jersey. And I think it was the Veterans Memorial Stadium is what it was, but the DVD I grew up watching. And I remember watching it and so focused on Eddie that I didn't realize all the things that everybody else was doing.
Yeah.
And you see the bass solo, and he just kind of goes nuts on stage, and he's got his Tennessee whiskey bass that he's playing, and you just kind of hear this rumbling, and he's just kind of slapping it around. And you're like,
yeah, okay, whiskey bass dude.
But then, especially on Panama, when they're performing it, he gets some camera time, and you realize he's that really high vocal.
Oh, man.
He's that. Holy shit.
And it makes it. It sounds like, dude, they sounded so good. Michael Anthony sounded so good. Like, look at the hair on my arms. I was like, holy crap.
There's goosebumps there.
Goosebumps there.
That camera's definitely picking it up.
He blew me away, man. It was amazing.
That's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
What I wouldn't give to see that. That'd be cool. But, all right, gentlemen. Well, thank you all so much for joining us on this podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you wanted to say something.
No, thanks
Yes.
so much for having me.
Well, real quick. Actually,
Something.
plug your new album. You said it just came out yesterday.
Yeah,
Where's
yesterday.
it playing right now?
It is on all major streaming platforms.
Okay.
Every single one of them, as far as I know.
Okay.
Yeah. And I mean, I would prefer you go to Apple Music and buy the album. That would be great.
Right.
Because, I mean, otherwise you just got to listen 300,000 times and I might get a couple dollars. So,
We talked about that.
$1.33.
We talked about that on one of the first episodes with Daniel Pep.
But yeah,
Yeah, so before we wrap this up, I do want to ask you guys both one of the questions we've been asking in a lot of the shows that we've done here is it's kind of two-part, it's how do you feel the music scene is now versus the past, how easy is it to make it, and try to make it big versus having the big record labels of the past, the way the internet's changed everything. And is it viable?
well,
It's a heavy question.
Not to fuck with you.
I
just
feel
a-
like
just a
I
little
feel like
question.
there's. I mean, I was never great at the business side of things, but my perception of what it was and what I was trying to do and what it had morphed into in the process, it was, so when I was younger, it was like, get a record deal, go play in front of this guy, play in front of that guy, and then the dream is you're playing somewhere and some bigwig record producer hears you and you go and do it, and that was the dream, and that's what I thought it was, and that's what I thought. I mean, as 18, 19-year-old kid or whatever, that's what I thought it was, and I kind of kept that mentality through my mid-20s, like, we're going to find this record deal, playing with that old Bitter Edge band and stuff, and we were making some headway around town, and, like, Sony was supposed to be listening at some Battle of the Bands or whatever, and I kind of thought that was the route you go, and then it turned into how many plays do you have on YouTube, and all of a sudden,
how many likes did you get?
How many
on
likes
Facebook?
did you get, and how many, it's like, man, I can't keep up. Like, people already have these hundreds of thousands of plays on YouTube. Like, how do you crack that code? How do you crack that algorithm?
How do you get found?
How do you get there? How do you get found now? And like I'm a 45-year-old guy who's kind of aloof and clueless now, like, because things don't work the way that I thought they did when I originally had the dream of
When you
doing
signed
this
up.
thing,
No, that's fair. I can completely understand that
I'm
sense of
really
loss.
terrible at marketing myself. I'm terrible about talking about myself. Sometimes, like, even to go out and get work, like, I'm in a new city now. Like, it's like, I need somebody to go out and do this shit because I am horrible about saying, hi, I'm a wonderful, entertainer. I can keep people engaged and, I'll make your bar a bunch of money tonight. Like, I'm fucking horrible at that. Right. So I don't know the route. I would be the last person to ask. Like, I just have this new album and now it's like, what the fuck am I going to do with it? And I've
Make another one.
And that's what I, when I picked Damon's brain and I've asked him, like, you're pretty great. That's like how you do it. He's like, just keep writing and just keep playing the shows, and that's it. And it's like, yeah, okay, like, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot more, that I could.
I've heard a euphemism that especially in today's era, in that making music is all about it's throwing as much at the wall as you can until something sticks. Mm-hmm. And it's writing song after song after song after song. You might write 100,000 songs, but once that one song sticks to the wall, suddenly people start picking up the other ones that didn't.
Yeah.
That's why I don't know how true that is. Obviously, I haven't made it.
There are a lot of methods. There's not no right way, no wrong way. For one person's path is different than the other person's path. But like Dan was saying, like in the old days when I was 10 years old and I was like, man, I love Slash, man, I'm gonna be in a band someday. This looks so cool. In those days you went to LA or a town like that and there was record exec people and they had a budget and they would sign you and they'd take a gamble and sometimes you won, sometimes you lost and stuff like that. And I suppose at a certain level that probably still goes on a little bit. But for someone like myself, I'm 45 and I've been playing music my entire life. What I've found works for me is to just build fan one at a time. You play your shows, you make your records. You don't make records to go out and try and buy a Ferrari. You make records because it's an expression of yourself. It's an art. And so you put this art out, if people like it, then they support you. They support you by buying tickets to your shows. They support you by sharing your music. They buy your merchandise, your T-shirts or your posters or whatever it is, specialty merchandise piece you have. And they also come to your shows and they tell their friends about it. And it grows organically, you know. And meanwhile, you buy Facebook ads and you know, all that stuff. But really the best way in today's time for someone like our age, I think, is word of mouth and just going and committing yourself to playing shows. You know?
Yeah. I mean, you made me a fan. Oh, God, I'm going to date you now because that was 24 years ago.
Yeah.
Damn near 25, right. So you were 19 or 20 then.
Yeah.
And I've loved you ever since. And then the first time I saw you
10.
was 10 years old. Probably later. You've been here a while. I think it was around 2010.
Yeah.
But
sounds about right.
I wasn't going out to shows till then. So...
That's awesome. So, yeah, I mean, one last note I'll touch on that. I saw one of those data sheets recently, and for the past 10 years, only 2 bands have held a top 5 spot on like the Billboard top charts, and it's all been solo artists or bands that are supported by a solo ever since. And there's this mindset that in the current music market,
absolutely
the band is
last
dead.
8 years.
It's about the solo artists, and then they hire a band to back them up to make them sound more full.
Well, and even in today, some of these bands are a solo artist that have just hired dudes,
Yeah.
and they name it a band.
Yeah.
And that's what that is. You know, in a good
well, even
percentage of
Mellencamp or John Cougar back in the day, everybody thought that was a band, and it was not a band. It was John Mellencamp.
Mellencamp.
That's a good example.
And, you know, his drummer, everybody were hired guns.
Right.
The whole career.
Well, it's interesting to see how that's come full circle. So you go back to the 40s and 50s, you've got Elvis Presley, you've got Johnny Cash, you've got all these guys, and it was them, and then they would have hired musicians playing behind them. And then I think in the 60s and 70s, we started to see these group bands where there wasn't necessarily a single standout person in them. Right. Pink Floyd's a good example. Freaking Van Halen's a good example too. But then in the 90s, that became... I want to be rude and say superficial, but when they created the boy bands and they started creating this artificial music that was written by other people in like Sweden or wherever, and they could just manufacture these things, that's when it became very, you know, someone poked a hole in the veil that we were all watching.
You know, Vanilli's fault.
Yeah. There's a cool documentary about that, actually.
Wait till the AI song starts selling more than you do.
That's a conversation I was having last night with somebody too. Like,
we could go on another hour conversation.
Yeah, I'm not going to open that can of worms.
It's a very scary can.
It's a very scary can to open, that's for sure.
It's a big can.
Speaking of cans, how about we go outside, crack open a bear, maybe have some good food around the fire, and
sounds good.
Awesome. Thank you, gentlemen, so much for joining us on the Roadkill
Thanks
Podcast.
for having us.
Go check out these guys' music and their shows. They got a lot of cool things coming up. We're gonna get this gentleman in the listening room tomorrow, but by the time this comes out, it'll be a film and an album coming out real quick, and then we're gonna get this guy in the listening room.
Both these guys, if you have not seen them live, you don't know what you're missing. I'm just saying, both of them have their own talent in their own ways, and together it's just even better.
The albums are but a tip of the iceberg. Live is where it's at. You got to come out and support. Come out and have a good time.
Hey.
All right. That's good. All right, gentlemen. Thank you so much for coming on.